Welcome back to Man, I'm Across the New Horizons. I'm dear darling. Shall we see what's going on a lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where hopefully I don't sound any different. I've changed my setup for my monitors, and actually it's like 10 times better. Like I'm playing on my well, I say 10 times better, it's my Switch controller falls on the ground, but my main monitor now is like basically directly in front of me, and I can now actually use my graphics tablet as a third monitor without having to turn my head 90 degrees. I only had to turn it like 20 or something, which is not bad, and my other monitor is there on my left. So it's actually like I've got the actual 3 monitor setup now. At the sacrifice of, I have a little bit less space to move my mouse around in, but that's fine, I would say. Yeah, hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow, it's 3:35 p.m. on Sunday, January 14th, 2024. Oh, the actual Joy-Con fell out of a holder. That's actually crazy. Yeah, what was I going to talk about today? Did you see? It was something I just saw on my front page of Reddit or something. I think it was in Programmer Humor. I don't know. I honestly can't remember. But someone made like this meme of translating, like, I think it was C#. I don't know C# very well, so it's hard for me to, I suppose, comment on it. C#, the programming language, if you don't know, into like Gen Z slang. So, you know, like for real, on guard, F around, find out, like they converted each of them. They actually did like a really good job. Like they actually thought about it, and honestly I just kind of loved it. Like you might be like, oh dear darling, are you Gen Z? I think I'm like one of the oldest Gen Zs. Like I don't think I'm quite old enough to be considered millennial, IMO. But it's not like, I don't think I'm really like the epitome of Gen Z. I think like, if you think of Gen Z generation, you'd probably think of someone maybe like 5 years younger than me or something, which is fair. So I'm sort of like in that borderline, but it is probably closer to Gen Z age, is my guess. I think the cut-off's like 1995 or something, is a guess. And I'm 97, so, which is weird to think about, because I think the association when I hear Gen Z in my head is like, I think of like a teenager, like 13, but it's like, no, like, that's probably like almost Gen Alpha now, isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not really here to spark any sort of generational divides, because I feel like that's like, I don't really like. I don't think I even know enough about, I suppose, generational divides enough to talk about it. Nor is it something which I think matters. Not like not matters. Just more like why. You know, I know that's a very reductive way to look at it, which is probably why I'll just stop talking about this. But I mean, the entire point was focusing on this meme of just using, like, I gotta find it. I found it so funny. I don't know why I found it so funny. It was on Reddit. I think it was. I'm like 90% sure, seeing as I don't really go on most other social media sites anymore, ever since Twitter's downfall. Programmer Humor. They probably did not spell it the British way, now I think about it. Programmer Humor. Is it? Oh yeah, C# for Gen Z is so good. Like, I don't know C#. I do know a tiny bit of C++, but normally, like, I know, like, I would say I would know SQL, Python, JavaScript, and R. Unsurprisingly, very stats focused, because that's like what I studied in uni. I don't think we actually have anything to put away in storage. No, we don't. Those are coconut juices, but it's so good. Like declaring like public and private things, you use high key and low key, and I was like, oh, this is off to an absolutely rocking start already. And then float is period, which I don't get, to be perfectly honest, and bool is facts, which is pretty funny, I thought. And then the try and accept statements is F around and find out, which is one of the most hilarious substitutions, I think. And the if statements are vibe checks, and then like the comparison operators are ratios, which are it's so good. So then it's like, if Riz is greater than vibe, a return statement is it's giving, and true and false is no cap and cap. It's so good. So literally this thing, it was actually from Twitter. Hold on, let's see the Twitter username. It's from phantom_the game. So the statement, you know, in C# would be try, if Riz is greater than vibe, return true, else return false. But in Gen Z like slang, it's so funny. It's F around. Obviously, the actual slur, not slur, whoa, Jesus, the actual swear is there, but I'm not here to swear on, well, I don't really swear all that often, I think about it in the first place, but it goes, vibe check, Riz, ratios, vibe, it's giving, no cap, big yikes, it's giving cap. It's actually one of the most hilarious things I've read. And then the find out statement is T, shoutout.spilltea.yap, and then the throw statement is yeet. It's so good. I actually love it. Like, I obviously never program this sort of thing. It's there for comedic value. But I think I spoke about this before. I can't really remember. But there's a lot of like these strange programming languages because, you know, obviously you have all these different programming languages which are all good in different sort of situations. Like if you want something simple to pick up, you can use Python. If you want some like managed databases, you use SQL, which I guess is a querying language, not a programming language or whatever. If you want something down in, you know, pretty close to the code, you use C++. If you want actual code, you use assembly, and then you're also insane, I would say. But someone like that. I don't know all the details, but there's an amusing amount of like joke programming languages which you can use actual functional code with. I assume all of them have a C base. I don't actually know, probably because I assume that one ends up being the most. I'm not sure versatile is a word, but it ends up being the most portable. I don't know, not portable as in like you can carry it around, but portable as in you can convert one into like another. Like these substitutions work. I don't really know. But the ones that come to mind, obviously there's a very infamous one called Brain F word here, which is basically just one, literally just made to be nigh incomprehensible to read. I don't even know how you program in it, but if you look it up, you can see it's basically a load of plus signs, minus signs, and then like comparator symbols. I shouldn't say comparator because I mean that sounds like the circuit symbol comparator. I don't think anyone was thinking about, but that's what I thought of. The comparison signs are like a greater or less than signs. Carrots, I guess. I don't know. Carrots is only upwards, right? It's not the sideways arrows. Anyway, that's not really the point. It's basically incomprehensible to read. You look at it and you go like, what is going on? I have no idea. I think it's something to do with like bit placements or something like, and it's the right and left arrows are like shifting the bits. I honestly don't know. So there's that one. What else is there? The one like the millennial version, I suppose, of this Gen Z programming language, C sharp, as I suppose it should be called, which is amusing because I suppose I'm British, so I don't know why I'm saying Z instead of Z. Gen Z. Anyway, but Gen Z sounds really cursed. Anyway, I think it's called lol code. So I suppose if you went around in the early days of the internet, there's basically the go-to sort of meme style is where Icon has cheeseburger style, and you might be like, what are you even talking about? Or lolcat style, and I don't know necessarily what the accepted nomenclature of it is, but it's basically early internet era, like early 2000s or something. I would place it at, and I can't really describe it because, you know, you probably look at it and be like, that's pretty cringe, and I guess it kind of is. Like all of these fads, once they, you know, die out, end up being quite cringe. But I suppose it was kind of defined by having set images which had preconceived like notions and definitions between them, and putting like impact font over the top of it, which like described a situation. And you might be like, what on earth are you talking about? Because that was probably the most robotic way to describe a meme. But like one of them is, I don't even know, like Bad Luck Brian or something, where it was just like, oh, unfortunate things which happened to you, and it's like, oh, I don't know, I can't even think of a situation. As you can tell, I never made these memes up in the first place, but it's like, oh, you know, skipped out on school because you're ill. It was, you know, just a day where we just watched movies or something like that. I don't know. That's a terrible one. You can look them up yourself, but I don't know. I feel like it was very much defined. How would you define it? I wonder how a linguist would define it. Probably like the overuse of the word Zs and the sort of like simplification of language. Because it was always like, Icon has cheeseburger. Like for some reason, it was the funniest thing, these lolcats. It was just literally pictures, like photos of cats saying this silly things in this sort of language. In this lolcat language, like Icon has cheeseburger. I can't even remember it anymore, but I do remember going on these sites, basically just to sort of like look through them. I don't know. I guess I found them amusing to a certain degree. Otherwise, why wouldn't I like watch them? You might be like, that's brave to admit that. Nah, you know, everything becomes, well, maybe not everything becomes cringe eventually, but you know, these sort of cringy moments you look back on, if anything, is a signifier of growth. Is often what I say rather than something to be. I'm not sure reprimanded is the right word, to be, what's a, you know, like, reviled, I suppose. That's a bit harsher than I meant, but still. Anyway, there's like lol code, which, I don't actually know what lol code looks like. Maybe we can look it up. I actually have, there's a site called Learn X and Y, which I don't know if I still have bookmarked. I might do, programming, Learn X and Y, which basically gives a rundown of exactly how every single programming language works. Oh, but lol code is on here. So, okay, so you do comments using by the way. You import stuff saying can has something. Hi, everyone. I don't know what it is. TLDR. TLDR's multi-line comments. I assume. Declaring variables is I has a message. It's I has a message. I guess message must be string. It's is it equal sign? Okay, so math. By the way, I don't, it's so stupid. That's I kind of love it in its own way. I has an age. Give it age. So I guess give it is return. Statements. It's actually kind of like unreadable. I wonder if they have the others on here. Because, okay, so that's basically that. It's using that sort of lolcat's way of speaking to make a programming language, which obviously you would never use if you actually wanted to program something. It's just kind of, I guess it's kind of there for whoever created it to sort of like show about, look, I can make my own programming language or something, or just for a bit of fun, really. You know, why do things but for fun? Well, I guess practical reasons. So, you know, that's kind of, you know, that's humanity in a nutshell. Do it for practical reasons or do it for fun. I wonder if they have, I can't remember what it's called. I definitely spoken about it before, but there's like a friendship is magic, like a My Little Pony one. The only thing I remember is starting functions. You go like, Dear Princess Celestia. And then to like end the functions, you go, your faithful student, or something like that. It's really quite funny. But it's basically, to give you a summary, in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, they round off each of the episodes basically with one of the main characters, starting with Twilight Sparkle in the earlier seasons and turning to the others as well, in later seasons, basically saying what lesson they learned that day, you know, as a way to sort of like drill it into kids' heads, being like, oh, this is like the moral of the story, etc., etc. Which I'm like, hey, you know, that's a pretty nice way to do it, because it gives basically a summary of the entire episode. It's quite transparent for kids, so, you know, even kids who didn't understand the nuance, I suppose, of the episode can understand the message at the end, because it's basically being spelled out to you. It feels like they have like nice in-law reasons for it to make sense, because she's basically making friendship reports, you know, that sort of thing. And I'm like, that's actually a very clever sort of like law building thing. So basically all the code is written in that style. So like just declaring variables, you had to use like My Little Pony character names or something. I can't remember. Let me find it again. It probably still exists. Friendship is Magic ++. Here we go. So here's Hello World. Dear Princess Celestia, hello world. Today I learned something simple. I said hello world. That's all about something simple. Your faithful student Twilight Sparkle. Collab sequence. Oh my god. Did you know that Final Value is on? Did you know that Spike likes the number 53135714? Did you know cakes are 2? Did you know that too much cake is free? I have no idea what's going on. Cat program. So Dear Princess Celestia, when you have your program name or whatever, today I learned how to execute the cat programs. It's so good. Just like, I don't know, I feel like it's a very nice sort of marrying of logical ideas plus creativity all in one, which is, you know, always tickles my fancy, right? While correct is true feels like a very direct way of saying things. Did you know that spike is the word nothing? So I guess nothing is null. So this is assigning the variable spike a null. I asked spike is probably asking for the for input, and then I said spike is returning it, I guess. That's all about how to execute the cat program. So at the end of whatever this function is, then your faithful student Twilight Sparkle. It's so good. Like I don't know, people are just crazy for making it. Anyway, so this feels like the next installment of it. Z#. I'll be using Gen Z lingo, I suppose, to really say it. You might be like, I don't know, like, do I like it in an ironic way, or do I like it in like a that's so me for real sort of way? Because do I use Gen Z slang? I would say I don't use like that much Gen Z slang. I certainly use it. Like I love for real, so true. But there's some things I say all the time. I don't say things like cap or no cap. I think Riz is kind of funny, like as a phrase. Hold on, let me go back to it. I say high key and low key all the time. But that's kind of like old Gen Z like slang nowadays, isn't it? I don't say facts. I do say sus sometimes, because it's one of the things where you start saying ironically, and then it sort of like becomes your lingo. I do like vibe check, and I do like saying ratio actually. Yeet. I don't really think I say yeet. I don't know. Some of these things I feel like I say ironically, because it feels like it's for a generation beneath me, despite the fact that I'm still technically part of that generation. So it feels like I'm sort of like you know, like an old parent just using your teenager slang just to make them feel embarrassed and awkward about it. I don't know if lit is considered Gen Z anymore. It's like kind of like old news nowadays. Like that's sort of like in between of millennial Gen Z, isn't it? I used to say lit quite a lot. There was more ones in the comments where they were inventing like other different things. Bet. I feel like I say bet ironically. Well, as in I don't say it very often. But I don't know. Sometimes slang phrases just like so good. It's like hard to encapsulate that sort of vibe you want to get, I suppose, within a word. Like I could say bet as in like I don't even know how I translate bet. Like, are you sure? Like, no way. You sure? Doesn't make any sense. I don't know. On God, that's a pretty. I don't use that one, but that's a very sort of Gen Z slang, isn't it? Same for real. Oh, this is one I like. A equal to B can be A same B. X is not equal to null. It can be X for real for real. I love that. When class stuff, extends thing, implements whatever, can be drip stuff, simps thing, stands whatever. That part, I love that so much. Millennials have low code. Oh yeah, and it ends with K thanks bye, isn't it? What a throwback. I can't wait for this to be cringy even, just to see what Generation Alpha have as their slang. And it's all going to be a full cycle, you know. The generations always look down on the generations following and preceding, I suppose, on their slang. And then, you know, if you don't believe me, then presuming you're around my age, you might be like, what do you think about the word groovy or something? I actually use the word groovy and funky all the time now. I feel like we've aged enough. I'm starting to use them like in a cool way again. Because it's like whenever that came out, like groovy, funky in like 60s or something. And then the next generation, I see the 80s. Well, like that's so cringe. We're not gonna say that. But now it's like we're like 2 generations removed. Now 3 generations removed, I suppose. Now you can start using crazy and funky and groovy all over again. And I don't know. It's like it's lost in. That's not a word. It's lost the association or cringe. Based. That's another one I say all the time. Crazy how snowballs are spawning like right next to each other. Anyway, so these like fictional programming, these joke programming languages are fantastic, fantastically fun. Obviously, never actually use them to program something. If you want to learn how to program, please just like pick up Python or something. That's definitely like the most accessible one. I don't know. I guess Scratch is pretty accessible. That's not really a language. It's more like an interface combined with a language, isn't it? I'm ashamed. No, not ashamed. I'm kind of sad that we never actually got to use Scratch all that much in school. Like we got introduced to it like by sixth form time or something. At which point I already knew how to program in JavaScript, and I was like, oh man, if I got introduced to this when I was like in year 7, year 8, I probably would have loved it. To be perfectly honest, I would have made wild stuff. So I don't know if this actually exists, but they should absolutely make that. You know, if they can make log code, if they can make Friendship is Magic plus plus, and they can make Z Sharp. And I don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm just going to round this episode off here. I've lost track of everything. But if you have been watching, thank you very much. Spin down, I'm crossing new horizons. I've been darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope you see each other again. But now it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now. For real, for real.